1936, London, a dusty trunk of manuscripts sells for £10,000. Inside 650,000 words that rewrote history. Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics, spent 30 years chasing alchemy. Not for gold, not for fame, for God's own blueprint. Newton's family hid these papers for 200 years to protect his legacy. It wasn't until economist John Maynard Keynes bought them that he dropped a bombshell. Newton was not the first of the Age of Reason. He was the last of the magicians. The Newton we know unlocked gravity, invented calculus, and defined classical physics, but he spent more time stirring chemical brews than studying orbits. His alchemy manuscripts outnumber his physics writings 3-1. So let's start with what he wasn't doing. Unlike medieval charlatans, Newton never chased the philosopher's stone to turn leading to gold. In a 1675 marginal note, he scoffed, "Alchemy is not for fools seeking riches. It's to know God through his works. First to understand God, second to find true medicine," he wrote. This wasn't mysticism, it was his life's mission. Newton's world had no divide between science and faith. To him, decoding nature's secrets was decoding divine creation. Walked Newton's Cambridge in 1667, and alchemy wasn't pseudoscience, it was cutting-edge research. His mentor Robert Boyle, the father of chemistry, did alchemical experiments daily. Fellow Royal Society members debated vegetable stones and fermentation principles like we debate quantum physics today. The line between alchemy and chemistry didn't exist yet. That triangle symbol for heat in your chemistry textbook? Stolen from alchemical notation for fire, beakers, distillation gear, even the word element, all alchemy's legacy. Newton didn't dabble in magic, he studied the only material science available. But he did it differently. Traditional alchemists guarded secrets with cryptic poetry. Newton approached it like a physicist. He collected 169 alchemical books, made cross-referenced indexes, and recorded experiments precisely. When nitric acid dissolved silver but not gold, he didn't invoke spirits. He asked, "What force stops the particles?" This is where his science and alchemy collided. Newton rejected the ancient for elements theory. Instead, he adopted Boyle's corpuscular philosophy, the idea that all matter is made of tiny, active particles created by God. If he could split gold into its fundamental particles, the corruption he wrote of, then reconfigure them, the generation, he'd prove God's design follows universal laws. Gold was perfect, it's chemically inert. If we can break gold, he noted, we can break any matter. This wasn't fantasy, it's the same reductionist logic he used for gravity. Just as he broke planetary motion into laws, he tried to break matter into its building blocks. His notebooks are filled with equations tracking particle interactions, alchemy by way of calculus. By 1675, Newton's Trinity College lab was a furniture-fueled obsession. He worked 18-hour days, breathing toxic mercury fumes likely causing his later tremors. Then disaster struck, a fire destroyed 20 years of research notes, compounds, and his prized regulus of antimony, a crystalline alloy he called the seeds of metals. He didn't quit, he rebuilt, and in those ashes, something extraordinary emerged. Newton began writing about active principles, forces that act at a distance between particles. Sound familiar? In his alchemy manuscripts, he scribbled, "Just as the sun attracts planets, particles attract each other." This action at a distance would become the cornerstone of his gravity theory. The idea that defined modern physics? Born from his alchemical furnace. To truly understand, we must confront his religion, not the Church of England's version. Newton's 1.3 million words of theological writing reveal a heretic. He rejected the Holy Trinity, believing God was a single, active force in nature. Alchemy was his theology made tangible. When he wrote "all things corrupt, all things generate," he wasn't talking about chemistry, he was describing God's cycle of creation and renewal. The fermentation he studied in beakers? A mirror of divine life force. His work formed a perfect circle. Alchemy explored God's material design. Physics explored God's motion design. Theology explored God's purpose. To Newton, they were one science. By 1696, when Newton left Cambridge for the Royal Mint, he'd abandoned active experimentation, but not his ideas. Today, we see his alchemy as a bridge between medieval mysticism and modern chemistry. His experiments with acids laid groundwork for chemical reactivity. His particle force ideas prefigured atomic bonds. Even his failed attempts taught us what doesn't work, critical to scientific progress. When Keynes called him the last magician, he didn't mean fool. He meant someone who dared to ask, what if the universe's greatest secrets aren't in the stars alone? What if they are in the fire, the metal, the very stuff of creation? Newton didn't betray science. He expanded it even when it meant chasing shadows. And in those shadows he found pieces of the light.